When thinking of my hometown, I think of all the Chicago essentials. I think of Portillo's hot dogs, I think of Bears games, and I think about the skyline as well. Sadly, my way of thinking about Chicago has changed over the years as criminal activity started to take away from my city. Although gang violence rates for the city fluctuate, there are thankfully many aspects that still don't allow the topic to become normalized in the United States. As you can see on this graph from ChicagoCrimeScenes.com, numbers of murders have been soaring since about 1966, but actually peaked during the 90s. There's an estimated 850,000 gang members floating around at this time, and over 30,000 different types of gangs. Relating back to the normalization of society, one might question what it is that keeps this barrier continuing. Gang members have isolated their being from the rest of the world by using ethnicity, neighborhoods, and also lack of morals. Starting straight by digging into ethnicity, majority of gangs only accept members that are from the same or relatively similar ethnic background. Taking these three gangs into consideration, MS-13 consists mostly of Salvadorians, Hondurans, and Guatemalans. Gangster Disciples is made of mostly African Americans, and this was actually formed on the south side of Chicago in the late 1960s as well. And then we also have the Maniac Latin Disciples, which is mostly Latinos, and this is the second largest gang in Chicago, as it is right now as well. By sticking with no cultural diversity, these people are trying to put an image out to the rest of the world for what they represent. They might have tattoos, they might have all these different symbols and meanings to be unified, but they want to be different. They're trying to separate themselves from society, but also at the same time become that unified group where you're one and the same. Ethnicity also brings me to neighborhoods. Neighborhoods almost go hand in hand with race. This causes isolation because, for the most part, someone who is not from a gang-related neighborhood will most likely never go to one. These are war zones, and in gang culture, there are specific areas that are marked off that you know is not your territory because you're a rivalry gang, and that will get you killed. This closes out a lot of area to not only members, but also to the average person due to safety. The state that the neighborhoods are in as well make it very easy to distinguish what part of town you're in. When looking at this graph of Illinois, the purple area, which is going to be up here at the top, it's going to be all of that. The purple area is actually going to be the highest levels of gang activity in the state, which just so happen to be clumped together in a neighborhood. Now, for the largest separation, in my opinion, has to be morals. Morals are hard to consider due to the fact that everyone has their own way of thinking, but for the most part, through the education systems or church groups, we're usually taught kindness and the difference between right and wrong as a young child. To most faces, it's evident that no one should steal, cheat, or harm others, but to these people, they were predispositioned to have this life by their environment, unfortunately. To them, hiding behind cars on their way home from school as bullets go flying, or having family members be killed or friends being killed, was just part of everyday life. Considering thousands of people are losing their spouses, children, and other relatives every day to this kind of activity, and on top of that, this all comes from the same trace kind of background, it is simply shown that these gangs are trying to create this strong barrier between themselves and society.